Hey guys, Outdoor Prepper, welcome back to the channel. I do a lot of power station reviews, and today I'm focusing on the UDPower S1200. I picked this up because it was on sale. I got a pretty good price. It was about $439, and I'm going to post the link to it in the description as well as a discount code because I did reach out to UDPower and see if they could give a discount to my subscribers. I want to talk about what can this realistically run though, because that's the question that so many people ask me. I bought a power station, what can I run? Or I want to buy one, but I don't know what it can power. And if you watch a lot of the other reviews online, a lot of people take a heat gun, a hair dryer, they do a capacity test, and those are all great things, but they don't tell the average person what can it run. The little old lady that wants to buy a power station for her apartment or for her home because she doesn't have a generator doesn't need to know that it can power a heat gun for 20 minutes. They want to know, can I power my fridge? Can I power my lights? Can I watch my TV show? And how long can it run these devices for? So that's what I really want to focus on today. I want to give you hard facts and statistics about what you can actually run that you're actually going to use. It's doubtful during a power outage that you're going to be firing up a heat gun or a load tester or running a hair dryer, for hours. So you want to know what you can realistically power. But let's pull the camera in a little bit closer because I want to show you the features of this unit. And the number one feature that I like, it's got a really nice handle. It's got a handle that makes it easy to carry. It's not overly heavy. This is about 26 pounds. And it's a very powerful unit. This has a 1200 watt inverter and a 1191 watt hour battery. And basically what that means in plain English is you can be provided 1191 watts of power for 1 hour. Now, realistically, you're going to get a little bit less power because it does take power to actually run the unit, as in the screen, the inverter that's built in, and all the electronics. So you're going to get a little bit less power than what is advertised with this and all, battery backup systems or solar generators, if you would call that. So let me pull the camera in and let's just look at the screen and go over the features of this unit. And then we're going to talk hard numbers of what you can power. Okay, so we're a little bit closer now, and I'm just going to unplug some of these devices that I did plug in here to charge up. And I've been doing some preliminary testing with this, and I really like this a lot. And there's one feature that I absolutely love, and that is this button right here. It has lights. If you know me and a lot of other reviewers online, it's important that power stations have lights because you're using this because you don't have power. And if you don't have power, it's presumably dark, especially if you're using this at night and you have a giant battery. So why would you not include lights on it? Most of the major brands don't. UDPower does, and I'm thrilled that they do. And that was one of the reasons why I picked this up. So it's got this button right here. You press it once, the lights come on low, medium, and then high. It may be difficult to determine the brightness on the camera, but these are actually pretty bright lights. If you're looking at the screen here, this is your power button, so you just press and hold it to turn on. You press and hold it to turn off. As it's turning off, the screen will flash 3 times to kind of let you know that it is turning off. Let's just zoom into the screen so you can kind of get a little more of a look at how the screen works. Oops, sorry about that. So on the left side of the screen, this is showing your input and the wattage that is coming in. On the right side, it's showing the output and the wattage that is going out. On the top, where it says 37.8 H, that means that the current load, so it's charging my iPad, which is right here, and it's also charging my AirPods, which are on top on the wireless charger. And at that current load, it can charge these for 37 hours, which is amazing because let's be honest, we're not going to be charging for 37 hours. These are going to be charged up pretty quickly. Next below the screen, and this is another feature that I really like. A lot of these power stations, they have apps for your phone, and that's great and all, but I don't want to have to use an app on my phone in order to tell the power station how fast to charge or if it should turn off if there is no load. I want like an actual button, and this has an actual button. So basically what these switches do, or you can keep it in normal or eco mode. In eco mode, if there's no load, it is going to turn off after a predetermined amount of time. And optimized versus fast charging, that is how fast the unit charges. So you can charge at about 400 watts or you can charge, I think it was about 800 watts. I like to keep it on optimized, which is the slower charge, because the slower you charge a battery, the longer the battery is going to last. Now, speaking of batteries, this is a lithium iron phosphate battery, and that is the safer battery type, not the lithium ion battery, which has more problems. These batteries are rated to last about 4,000 cycles, or about 10 years, which is a very long amount of time. So you will have no problem at all with longevity, on a power station like this. This button right here basically turns on your DC output, so it turns on this car cigarette lighter. It turns on these 2 USB-C ports and these 4 USB-A ports, as well as the wireless charger on top, which I'm using to charge my AirPods. This button right here, it turns on the 5 AC outlets, and the 1,200 watt sine wave inverter. Let's turn this unit around. We've basically got some cooling vents on the side for the fans. And then on the back, my absolute favorite feature, and I'm so glad that UDPower has this. There's a lot of power stations that don't. It's a regular old plug to plug it in. So this is your typical computer type plug. And it does include the plug with the unit so that you can plug it in and charge it. And actually, I'm just using a plug on one of my other power stations because this has a universal plug, which I absolutely love. Also in the back, it's got an input for solar, so if you want to charge this on solar, you can certainly do that as well. Finally, it comes with a car adapter to a barrel plug adapter, so you can actually plug it in here where it says solar DC in, and you can charge through there as well. Now, all these features of the unit, from the ease of the buttons, you don't need to use an app, it's got the lights on it, it's got a really nice screen, a handle, it's not heavy to carry, it's got a very large battery. These are all great, and that's why I bought it. But what you want to know, and the reason we're here, is what can it actually power and for how long? And why would I want something like this? And the answer is really simple. You want something like this because you may want to be able to survive a short-term power outage, maybe 5 hours, 10 hours, maybe a night. Maybe you have a generator, but you don't have a lot of fuel, and you want something like this that can supplement your generator, meaning the generator can charge this up, and it can charge this really fast. You're talking about an hour, this will be fully charged. And then you can run your essentials on this for 10 hours while your generator rests, and then when this gets low, you restart the generator, and then you charge this back up and then go back to the battery. And what that's doing is it's allowing you to stretch that fuel supply of the generator really far, because this battery is supplementing it, and you're running the bulk of your items, the bulk of the time, off the battery and not burning gasoline. But let's get right into what can it power. So you're probably going to want to power your cell phone. A typical iPhone takes about 12 watts to charge, and it draws about 10 to 12 watts. And basically that means you can charge your iPhone, if this is fully charged, roughly 90 to 100 times, which is ludicrous. You're never going to want to charge it that many times, but that just shows you how much reserve power you have, which is great. Next up, your full-size fridge. And we're going to plug this into the fridge, and I want you to see it powering the fridge. An average full-size refrigerator draws about 150 watts. Now, a fridge cycles on and off. It doesn't run continuously. It'll run until it cools down, then it turns off, then when it warms up, the compressor turns on. But basically, something like this at a full charge can power your fridge for about 12 hours. That's an amazing amount of runtime. If you had a 10, 11 hour power outage, you just plug your fridge in and you literally haven't lost anything. What about a TV? Maybe you want to watch your TV at night. That takes about 120 to 150 watts. That's your average 65-inch TV. So basically, you can watch TV for 7 to 9 hours straight with this unit during a blackout. Amazing, amazing runtime. But now you also need to run your cable box. That takes about 20 to 30 watts. You can definitely look about 6 to 8 hours of continuous streaming time for your cable box and your TV, right? We said 7 to 9 hours with the TV, but obviously you're probably going to want to use the cable box. So when you plug the TV and the cable box in, you're talking about 6 to 8 hours of power. What about a laptop? Laptops have their own batteries, but they use about 60 to 100 watts when charging. So you could charge your laptop about 12 to 18 times, or you can run it continuously for 15 hours. That's a really long time. Next up is your lights. Obviously, if it's a blackout, you're probably going to want a lamp in your living room, your kitchen, your bedroom. whatever. I recommend that you put an LED bulb in the lamp because that is the most efficient, and that'll usually take about 10 to 15 watts of power. And with the simple LED bulb in a lamp, you're talking 80 to 100 hours of light. You probably only need the lamp for 5-6 hours a day. So you do the math. If this can give you 80 to 100 hours of light, you're never going to be left in the dark. Now let's say you've got a Wi-Fi router. It's important to stay online during an outage so you can get news, information. A typical Wi-Fi router takes about 10 watts, meaning that the S1200 can keep your internet going for nearly 100 hours. Guys, I hope this is starting to make sense to you, that something as small and compact and inexpensive as this can do an awful lot of stuff, and these are things that you really are going to want during a power outage. Obviously, this is not going to power your swimming pool heater or your hot tub, but during a power outage, you don't need that garbage. You need the essentials. You need to be able to keep your food cold, charge electronic devices, hear information, communicate. You know, that's the type of stuff that's important. What about a CPAP machine? So many people rely on a CPAP machine for their health to be able to sleep and continue to breathe. This unit, the S1200, can run a CPAP machine overnight for about 15 to 25 hours. And I say about because it really depends on the model that you have. Do you have the humidifier on? The humidifier obviously takes more power, but most people are not sleeping for 15 to 25 hours. So this is more than, sufficient for that. What about power tools? Maybe you want to do van life and you want to try to, run some power tools to build out your van in the middle of nowhere where you have no power. You can run a drill, you can run a sander. Those items take about 600 to 800 watts, and so you could run one of those for about an hour and a half to 2 hours of actual runtime. Finally, what does everybody really want that makes them feel better during a power outage? They want coffee. A coffee maker takes a lot of power. That takes about 1,000 to 1,200 watts of power, but you can absolutely make coffee because the coffee machine is not running for hours and hours and hours. So you can basically make about 8 to 10 full pots of coffee on one charge with the UDPower S1200. Guys, one thing I always forget to ask right before we move on to the refrigerator, the air conditioner, and 2 other items. If you could do me a solid, if this video is helpful, if you could like and subscribe, it would really help me. I'm trying to build the subscriber count significantly, so anything that you could do if you enjoyed the video will be really helpful. Guys, even though we didn't talk about the toaster, I'm powering my toaster right now. I've got a Breville toaster. I plugged it in. Let's just bring the camera real close to the screen here. This toaster is pulling 1,235 watts, and at that output, I can run this for almost a whole hour. Now the reality is the toaster only needs to run for about 2 minutes until it heats up my food, the toast, the waffle, whatever I have in there, and then it turns off. So as you can see, this is a very powerful unit. It is running a very powerful load right now, and it's dead silent. I think the cooling fan just turned on, but it is super, super quiet. It's not like some of those other units where the fan is just blasting at full speed. It powered the toaster, no problems at all. All right, I've got my fridge plugged in right now, and just for those that are wondering, I do have a full-size fridge, and I featured this fridge in a lot of other videos. It's a great fridge, it runs very efficiently. Look what it's pulling right now with the full-size fridge, 0 watts. And that's because the fridge is cool inside, so it doesn't need to turn on and run anything. But when this fridge does turn on, it usually pulls about 60 watts. I've seen it go up to 90 watts. If the defrost comes on, it'll run a little bit higher, but then it basically settles around 50 to 60 watts when the compressor is on. It's not in defrost mode and it's cooling. Guys, that is super efficient. With this fridge and this unit, I know I can get about 12 hours of runtime. And I know that because A, I've tested it, and B, I have other power stations that are exactly the same wattage and output as this, and I've gotten that runtime. But like I said, I did test it with this. I ran it last night actually in order to drain this battery down because I wanted to test the recharge time and the recharge speed, and I was very impressed with that as well. Now I always go, like I said, I keep this on optimized because I want this to charge slower. I'm not in a rush. I don't care if it takes 1 hour. I don't care if it takes 5 hours. I prefer to preserve the battery life. However, If there was a blackout and I was using a generator and I wanted to get this charged up quickly so I didn't use a lot of fuel on the generator, I would just switch this over to fast charging, charge it right back up, and then start using it again. So yeah, this can easily power your full-size fridge, roughly 12 hours. Again, it really depends on the fridge you have, the make, the model, the power consumption, but the average full-size fridge here in America, you could probably get about 12 hours. Now there's two types of window ACs that you generally find in homes, at least here in America. This is your traditional window AC, where it has a traditional compressor. As the room heats up, the thermostat says it's hot in here, turn on the compressor goes ka-chunk with a huge inrush of current, a huge surge. AC compressor comes on, it cools the room. As soon as the room reaches temperature, the compressor loudly turns off. Room heats up, ka-chunk, the compressor turns on. Something like this might draw 800-900 watts when it's running, maybe even a little higher because this is a little bit older. But when that compressor starts, it could draw 2,000, 3,000 watts for a brief moment to get that compressor going. And that's a problem for a lot of power stations. Even for some generators, that's a problem. And this is a fairly large air conditioner. So something like this would not be good to run on with that UDPower station, or really most power stations. But you know what would be good to run with that? This Hisense air conditioner. This would be awesome to run with a power station such as the UD1200, and I've actually run this with the UD power station. And just so you know, the UD power station, UD stands for ultra durable. It even says it on the box. This is like a mini split air conditioner. Basically the window kind of closes in between the front and the back, and I did a whole review on this air conditioner, and I'm going to link it to this video. I really encourage you to watch it. This is an amazing air conditioner. I picked it up at Costco. I got it on sale for $219, but that's not what's so amazing about it. What is so amazing about this is that with that power station, I can run this for about 12 hours. 12 hours of air conditioning in my bedroom during a power outage with such a small, lightweight power station is amazing. And the reason I can do that is because this air conditioner, unlike the one that I just showed you, has inverter technology. So basically there's a motor in here that spins this barrel fan. Then there's a separate motor in the back that spins the cooling fan, and there's a separate motor for the compressor. And the compressor can throttle up slowly, it can be super efficient, and it can throttle down. You don't have that huge inrush of thousands of watts to try to start that compressor and that motor. Instead, this just gently speeds up, cools the room, gently speeds down. It's also dead silent. This is such a quiet air conditioner. When it is running at night, you can barely hear it. I mean, you can hear the fan, but that's about it. It doesn't vibrate. You don't hear that compressor chugging away, shaking and vibrating the wall. None of that happens. And when this is running, you're talking about maybe 100 watts, a little bit more, a little bit less, depends on obviously a lot of factors. Is it 100% humidity and 300 degrees outside? Is it 80 degrees outside? A lot of factors, but you're roughly pulling about 100 watts. It is super efficient. Obviously, when the room cools down, you're going to pull less than 100 watts. You're just really going to be powering the fan. The compressor is going to slow itself down. You might be at 50 watts or 60 watts. So something like that UD power station can easily power this Hisense window AC, or the Medea U-shaped window AC. There was recently a recall on that, but it's back out on the market. It's back in production. You can pick that up. That is also kind of like a mini split window AC. Super efficient inverter unit. When I talk about LED lights, I'm really talking about something like this, which is a floor lamp. And inside here, I have two Philips LED bulbs. Now these bulbs are super efficient. They each take about 6 watts of power. So if you do the math, 2 of these bulbs is 12 watts of power. And that UDS 1200 is supplying 1,191 watt hours, obviously before you factor in the power it takes to power the inverter itself and the circuits and the screen. You're probably looking at about 85% efficiency. But again, you do the math, if you run 2 light bulbs on here, or 1 in this lamp and 1 in another lamp, you're talking literally massive amounts of hours of light in your home. You're talking 80 hours of light, some crazy number. So very efficient. Use an LED bulb. Guys, I hope you saw from those two previous videos that the fridge and the air conditioner, as well as all the examples we gave about how long you can power items, I hope you saw that this is really a versatile piece of equipment. If you live in an apartment, you can't have a gasoline generator because where are you going to run it? You can't run it indoors. So something like this, which really is super small and takes up literally no space, can be a lifesaver when your power goes out. Especially if you have young kids at home, you don't want them to become injured in the dark. And yeah, you can use a flashlight, but you know what? The flashlight is not the same as an actual lamp. And I've said this in many of my videos. I'm an EMT on an ambulance. The #1 call above all else is falls. And falls can cause such serious injuries up to including death. The #1 way to avoid a fall is to just see what's in front of you and to try to avoid slipping on something or tripping on something. And in a blackout, something like this can provide you that light that provides you safety as well. Additionally, we spoke about using this in your apartment. What about your house? A lot of folks have generators, myself included. I'm a big fan of generators. I feature a ton of them on the channel, and I really do recommend them. But be honest with yourself. If you have a generator, how much fuel is in your garage or your shed right this very moment? Let's just say your lights went out right now. What do you have? 2 gallons? That's about the average gas can. 2.5 gallons? Maybe you have a 5-gallon gas can. That fuel is only going to last you, if it's even good, if it's not stale, it's only going to last you maybe 10 to 20 hours maximum, if you even have the fuel. If you have something like this, you can literally stretch that out to several days, because what you do is you use the generator to charge this, then you run your emergency essentials like your fridge, your lights, electronic equipment, phones, radios, off of this. Let's say you get 10 hours off of this. Then you burn maybe an hour's worth of fuel to recharge this, then you run another 10 hours. I hope you consider this UDPower S1200. I really enjoy it. I've got a link to it below in the description. And ask any questions that you have. I will absolutely answer them. I answer every single comment on the channel. This is one of many power stations that I own, and I bought this specifically because I like its small size. I like the small form factor, I like the lights in the front, and I like the handle. I intend to take this camping, to the cabin, to use in the vehicle, and also to keep it home just in case I need it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.